White people threaten the leadership of this country with leaving South Africa because they have no remorse for what they did to us. Chief amongst them is Johan Rupert, whose family's wealth was created under the condition of cheap labor system and apartheid in general. He looks into the past, and all Rupert sees is a favor he's doing to the country by keeping his business here. He does not feel any responsibility for the damage to black lives him and his people did for centuries, a damage without which they will not be wealthy. This is where you see black people in South Africa, even if they wanted, are incapable of reversing racism. It is not possible for a black person to hate a white person and build a system based on humiliation and exploitation of whites on the basis of the color of their skin. In this country, black people love their masters. This is the fundamental scandal of our liberation. Black people of South Africa love white people so much that they are willing to kill anyone who disrupts their white privilege and comfort. Every black person in our country every day is about begging white people not to leave with their investment and to stay. That's why they always complain. Malema is going to chase away white people. To fully comprehend the hatred with which white people conquered black people in this country, you must just recall how mutilated the body of the Amaxhosa king Hintsa, including cutting of his head. Harry Smith, after whom the town Harry Smith in Free State is named, is the one who ordered the brutal murder of Hintsa. To this day, Hintsa's remains in England, Hintsa's remains are England serving as a trophy of white conquest over African people. To this day, a town remains bearing the name of a colonialist who ordered and presided over the mutilation of Hintsa. 20 years into democracy, our streets, public squares, statues celebrate people who hated us and preside over the crime against humanity. We really have to ask crucial question as to why this black majority government is incapable of humanizing our environment. Free it from the symbol of African dehumanization by bringing down all monuments celebrating the conquest of African humanity, its humiliation and animalization. Many people called this for the removal of apartheid and colonial symbol racist. But it is noteworthy that in the fight, in fact, black people are incapable of being racist. The black person can't be racist. They are too poor, too damaged in the soul and too broken in the spirit to even raise a hand on a white person. Even when evidence points to so deep an evil committed by white people. Black people have never used any skin color to mark them out of subservient beings, building a system of rule based on the color of other people. This is because to be truly racist, one has to possess the power, the economic power to exclude, to marginalize, to exploit, to humiliate others. But in a country, the balance of forces is such that the economic power is completely in the hands of white people and people who feel no remorse for their racism against black people. The only hatred black people are capable of is hating themselves and hating each other. If you want to see black hate, go to the township and see how black people treat each other. They are willing to accept mediocrity of services from each other. Anyone amongst them who fights for excellence of services is dismissed as imitating white people. When they fight to the death of each other. They kill each other over a look or stepping on their shoes. Ke batho ba bantsho bao. A re ntebeletse. And then the fight starts. Or a re wa o ngata seeta sa ka. And then a fight starts and they kill each other. Cheers. Comrades, to see black hate, go to government offices and ask for services. If you are black, you will be humiliated and served with mediocrity by another black person. In the banks, it is the same. The black person is the one who will treat another black person with more hostility and suspicion for asking for business funding. We do not believe in ourselves. There is no single protest for the marginalization of black professionals in state-owned enterprises. If we believe and love ourselves, we will fight everything that treats us as subservient beings. This is why South Africa needs the EFF, because the first and foremost, EFF believe in black excellence and will defend black people with everything, including death. If we are not willing to die for our identity, then we are not worthy of being free. To be free means to rely on ourselves, depend on our talent, gifts, and capabilities. But if we always conduct ourselves as inferior, we invite permanent tautology from white people. If in order to produce something excellent, you need white supervision, then you are not worth human being. You are a slave. You are a waste of the struggle for liberation. You are a waste of birth. And to kill you will also be a waste of time. It is time we preach the gospel of black pride, more so today than in the dark days of apartheid and colonialism. We must ask each other, we must ask and teach ourselves as black people, challenge and each other to treat ourselves with love, confidence, dignity, and respect. This is the beginning of genuine freedom. Believing in yourself, be self-reliant, and make no apology for demanding respect. Until we feel and act this way to each other, we will not end corruption, dysfunctionality in our institution, and general mediocrity. It starts with black pride, because to colonize is to make people hate themselves so much that they always require white supervision to have an order, excellence, development in general. You can see here there is no white person here, but there is order, because we believe in ourselves. We don't require white supervision. We must therefore remind each other that black people are capable people, capable of high science, spirituality, sports, beauty, art, economics, and social excellence. It is time we focus on building our own institution, because there is no white person coming to save us. There is no white person coming to invest in your business. There is no white person coming to save you from unemployment, poverty, and disease. Black people, we only have ourselves. It is important to recall how Marx, Lenin, and Fanon complement each other in our ideological toolkit. It is through Karl Marx that we come to understand capitalism as a system of exploitation that creates few rich people and millions of workers who owe their existence to wage labor. Through Marx, we appreciate that human freedom cannot be realized through capitalism. We understand that capitalism is a system of the production of profit for profit's sake, and it privileges the greed to maximize profit. Profit pursued and maximized by any means necessary, particularly to the destruction of our environment. Marx teaches us that socialism is the solution to the problem of capitalist exploitation. Socialism is where production is for the people, not for profit. Through socialism, we drive human maximum civilization by planning and not the anarchy of the market. But it is Lenin who helps us with the path towards socialism without necessarily engaging in capitalist market-led development. While Marx will have thought that development of productive capacity depends on market-driven development, Lenin demonstrated that it does not need. Through the vanguard party, supported by the working class as a socialist government, can lead the productive development of the economy without depending on the markets. This we see in China since the leadership of China practiced socialism. In Fanon, we appreciate material conception of anti-black racism and colonial violence. This anti-black racism is violence, the ultimate aim of which is death. It is Fanon who helps us understand how the usage of color of our skin as means of oppression is critical to the project of colonial capitalism. To end an anti-black world, we must be prepared to unleash violence, because to accept such a world is to live under violence as a normal state of affairs. Anti-black world is where a world treats blacks as those who can be killed anywhere, anytime, with anything, killed with impunity. It renders black life as lives that do not matter, have no human value or dignity. Our Pan-Africanism is therefore rooted in the belief that African people everywhere in the world are rejected and hated simply because of the color of their skin. Pan-Africanism is an international movement seeking to form solidarity with Africans everywhere who have been subjected to slavery, colonialism, and apartheid. We seek after the dismantling of capitalism as the whole world does, but we also know that the world, even socialists of Europe and Chinese descent, struggle with a deep-seated hatred against African people. With Fanon, we find an authentic voice as an African who cannot deny the history of pure hate, as no other people in the world has ever been subjected to systematic oppression, colonization, slavery, and apartheid simply because of how they look. Other people have been enslaved, but because they did not belong to the nations that got them conquered, they are not subjected to discrimination because they are foreigners. But Africans are subjected to this systematic system because of a biological fact that they cannot change: the color of their skin. It cannot matter what language they speak, religion they practice, nationality they held. Simply by being black, they were regarded as subhuman and deserving of disgust from all other people of the world. This is what we seek to change, the indignity with which the world regards Africa and Africans. As we chart the way forward today, a true socialist future will not be a good future without the dignity of African people. It is therefore, fellow fighters, incredibly stupid and ill-informed for anyone to refer to our glorious organization as a movement of fascists. It is not only incorrect, but reveals a serious lack of understanding of political theory and the history of conflict and power in society. The idea that EFF and how the EFF function is completely opposed to fascism. Fascism refers to complete authority, one over many, the suppression of opposition and democratic process, and in history has no grounding in socialism. It is an ideology of violence, intolerance, and characterizes regime of the far right, from the apartheid state of Verwoerd to the repressive state of Mussolini in Italy. They are